Now let us see Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech by Wangari Maathai. Wangari Maathai was a Kenyan politician and environmental activist who was awarded the 2004 Nobel Peace Prize and becoming the black first African woman to win a Nobel Prize. Her Nobel Prize acceptance speech, and here the following themes are included in her Nobel acceptance speech. That is, she spoke about environmental conservation and sustainable development, peace and democracy, women's rights and empowerment, social justice and human rights, global responsibility and solidarity, the role of education, the interdependence of nature and humanity, the importance of personal responsibility and cultural and traditional values. And Wangari Maathai is Kenyan social, environmental, and political activist, and she renowned for her groundbreaking work in environmental conservation and human rights advocacy. In 1977, she founded the Green Belt Movement, an organization focused on tree planting, environmental conservation, and women's empowerment. The movement empowered local communities, particularly women, by providing them with the knowledge and resources to plant trees, combat deforestation, and improve their livelihoods. In 2004, she became the first African woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Wangari Maathai held her Nobel laureate on December 10, 2004 in Oslo City Hall, Norway. She was presented by Professor Old Dan Bolt and Jos, chairman of the Norwegian Nobel Committee. Wangari Maathai was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for her contribution to sustainable development, democracy, and peace. And this Nobel Acceptance Peace Prize, Wangari Maathai expresses her first of all expresses her gratitude to the world for her Nobel Peace Prize. And here he records our goal is to convince the world that the environment has much more importance than most people seem to realize. And she discusses the importance of the environment and explains how the Green Belt movement has helped and changed the world. And she then clarifies the problems still occurring, and she goes on to make a call to action here. Wangari Maathai begins her Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech by addressing various dignitaries. She expresses an humility at being recognized and feels honored to be the 2004 Nobel Peace Laureate. And Maathai was the first African woman to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, and she accepted it on behalf of the people of Kenya and Africa, indeed the world. And then she hopes that this will encourage women and girl child to raise their voice and take more space for leadership. And she instills pride in men. And she expects that the prize also brings inspiration to the youth and encourages them to pursue their dreams. Wangari Maathai feels immensely privileged to join the ranks of distinguished African Nobel Peace laureates such as Presidents Nelson Mandela and F.W.D. Clark, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, the late Chief Albert Luthuli, and the late Anwar El Sadat, and the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. Wangari Maathai encourages African people to use the recognition of the Nobel Peace Prize to strengthen their commitment to reducing conflicts and poverty and improving quality of life, embracing democratic governance, protecting human rights, and safeguarding the environment. And solutions to most of our problems come from us. And these Wangari notices and urges the people to these are the solutions for the most of the problems of us. Wangari Maathai's inspiration stems from childhood experiences with nature in rural Kenya, and it's further shaped by formal education in Kenya and the United States and Germany. And and green belt movement and its response to environmental and economic challenges and referred here. Throughout Africa, women, as primary caretakers and cultivators, were first to notice environmental degradation and resource scarcity. And environmental destruction directly impacts quality of life and future generations. In 1977, the Green Belt movement was initiated in response to rural women's needs for firewood, clean water, and balanced diets and shelter and income. And tree planting emerged as a practical solution to address the basic needs identified by women. Over 30 million trees have been planted, providing fuel, food, shelter, and income. And this activity creates employment and improves soils and watersheds. And this work enhances women's social and economic status and supporting their families also. And here Wangari Maathai and notes that these are the response of the Green Belt movement to the environment and economic challenges. And Mathai and also said that they created a citizen education program here. He describes on the citizen education program here. This program encourages people to identify their problems, their causes, and potential solutions. And through that program and linking personal actions and the problems they witness in the environmental and in society. And through the citizen education program, and participants learn about widespread issues such as corruption, violence against women and children, and family breakdown, cultural and communities disintegration, abuse of drugs and chemical substances, and serious diseases like HIV and malaria, and diseases associated with malnutrition. And next, Wangari Matai talks about the role of governance in environmental and social stability. And through this, understanding the environmental degradation and highlighted the need for good governance. Without good governance, there is no peace at all. So Wangari it notes that and the poor governance often leads to conflicts and poor laws protecting the environment. And here she called for a consciousness shift. For 30 years, efforts to address environmental and societal devastation have been ongoing, and yet these issues persist in the society. We now face a critical challenge requiring a shift in perspective to protect our life support systems and help the earth heal. And here Wangari called to expand democratic space here. Leaders, particularly in Africa, are urged to expand democratic spaces and build fair societies to enable the creativity and energy of their citizens to flourish. Those with education, skills, experience, and power should serve as the role models for the next generation of leadership. And here in the close, Wangari Maathai appeal for Aung San Suu Kyi's freedom here. Wangari Maathai appealed for freedom of her fellow laureate Aung San Suu Kyi, and so she can continue her work for peace and democracy for Burma and the world. And then she talks about the role of culture in development. And she stresses over the significance of culture here. And culture is central to the political, economic, and social life of communities and may be the key to Africa's development. It evolves by and discarding harmful traditions like female and genital mutilation and embracing beneficial aspects. Africans should rediscover and embrace the positive aspects of their culture to foster a sense of belonging, identity, and self confidence. Angari then called to the young people, and young people are a gift to communities and the world. And here she stresses over the young people here. And young people are our hope and future. Wangari notes that. And young people have the energy and creativity to shape a sustainable future. Young people are urged to engage in activities that contribute towards their long term goals. And the holistic development approach of the Green Belt movement is and replicated in more parts of Africa and beyond. To support this, and the Wangari Maathai Foundation has been established to expand these efforts, acknowledging that while progress has been made, much work remains. And here, Wangari reflected her childhood experiences here. He notes about he describes his childhood experiences here. Wangari Matai remember and fetching water from a stream in her childhood days. Drink water straight from the stream, she notes that, and playing among the an arrowroot leaves. And she tried to pick up stands of frog's eggs, believing they were beads, break, and saw thousands of tadpoles and black, energetic, and wriggling through the clean water. And this is the world Matai inherited from her parents. She remember her childhood in a very sensitive manner. And here, Wangari called for a restoration. Today, over 50 years later, the stream has dried up. Women walk long distance for water, which is not always clean, and children never know the natural beauty and once Matai knew. The challenge now is to restore these natural environments and provide future generations with a world full of beauty and wonder. And at last, she asks everyone to take part in something to help the environment. Taking care of the environment also takes part in ensuring a successful democracy and many other important things in society. Thank you.